graced the presence of a Series 2 RS Turbo onto my YouTube channel. And if you guys don't remember, and I'll give you a bit of a backstory as to why I have a soft spot for these cars to start the video. My Series 1, before I bought that, I made a big video about buying a red Series 2. I really wanted one because this is my era of car. This is my generation of fast, turbo, lighting the wheels up in a car park car, and I remember them so well, as well as the GT turbos from Renault. This was one of those cars. I then subsequently tried to buy one, but ended up in my Series 1, and though I do love that car, and I still have the biggest soft spot for these cars, you have no idea. So today, thankfully, the owner of this one has let me take it out for you guys, for the channel, and for myself to, again, tick the RS Turbo Series 2 tick in my head to say, yes, these are awesome cars, and I always jump at the chance to drive one of these. We're interrupting today's video to show you guys the new release on FYD. We have 3 new stickers. As you can see, I've put them on the back of the mighty Budget 300C today. We have B-Road Bashing, we have the FYD apparel just there in Old English text, and of course we had to bring back the much requested Dreams Arch logo. These are sold separately and are available right now. Link is in the description. Support the brand, support the channel. Go and grab yourself some stickers. FYD apparel, link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. So let's talk about this one. This is a white factory car, relatively standard actually. It has the looks of a relatively standard car. It's slightly lowered Oconee suspension, just like my Series 1. It's wearing the standard wheels as well, but it has Cosworth brakes. I always feel like that's a really good aftermarket but OEM part to put on one of these slightly faster turbo cars. It has a standard exhaust system with a chrome tip on the back, but it gives the illusion of being a relatively standard car. Even the interior, the seats have been rebolstered and are absolutely refined in the nicest way, as well as the dash. In fact, as we come onto the dash, it actually has the optional extra trip computer to this side. Now, of course, it's a relatively old car. Some of the digits have gone a little bit, but it's so cool that that was actually placed in this car and has been left there as well. Under the bonnet, you of course have the factory CVH turbo engine. Still pulls so well, but this one is running 183 brake horsepower, 220 foot-pound of torque load, which is very high for a, you know, soft stage 1, let's say. I don't like talking in stages, but this has had what is equivalent to a stage 1 mapping session, and that's opened up this car to, yes, a lot more power, and it doesn't need it, because I feel like from the factory 130, you know, ish, 135 tops brake horsepower was good. There's a lot of power to be had out of the front of these cars. This one though drives straight and true. It's sort of a survivor car in a sense. It is very, very mint. Not a lot of paintwork on the car, which again I try and relay. A lot of these have had paint. I think all of these have had paint, in my opinion. RS Turbo over here is talking. All of these have seen a ditch. All of them have seen a hedgerow. All have seen, you know, a Helford's job somewhere in the inside on the bonnet and stuff. That's just how these cars were. And this one, great story behind it. So it's actually been to a breaker's yard twice and been saved both times in, you know, the early 2000s from owners that have gone, do you know what, that's a little bit too nice actually, I'm not going to break it down, I'm not going to, you know, pull this thing apart. And that's really, really cool, because this car has been on the brink of being crushed. It has been on the brink of being broken down for parts so many times. Thankfully, when the owner actually bought it now, he's had it 5 years, he actually bought it with a broken gearbox, and, you know, it was sat up. The owner at the time was like, oh, I'm going to get to it at some point, offered him some money, and thankfully took the car home. He has then subsequently spent as much time as he can making it the car he had when he was younger, because he had one of these. And his father had a Series 1 when they were 6 months old, which is cool, so he remembers that. Capris, like stuff like that. He's just harping back to the glory days of these cars. And it meant that, you know, 5 years ago when he bought this, he said, you know what, I'm just going to make it the subtle, nice car I always wanted it to be and I always wanted. I think he's achieved that here, because everything is as is. It's not crazy modified, it's not crazy fire-breathing shooting you know, flames out the back, which I always say is great. But if you come from the older car scene, say, and you're now a little bit older yourself, you sort of want that slightly original car, and this is what he's achieved here, is a car that is just lovely to drive. Honestly, it drives straight and through. It's very, very nice to drive. The interior, going back to it, is just the most lovely place, but it feels so factory and fresh, and as if it is got no miles on it, this car. And the drive, it is fast. It's 180 horsepower. You know, I feel like these cars, they don't need loads of power to let you have fun in them. This one at that power feels so sprightly, so right, because of course they're a lot lighter than, you know, factory cars these days. It just has that bite and that feel from the front end. Now, I will say that jumping from my Series 1 to this does feel like a very different car, slightly newer interior. Your amenities in here are slightly nicer, dials are slightly nicer, but the biggest thing I'm taking away from it is the sound. The noise that I'm actually getting inside the car is a lot quieter. Yes, this hasn't got exhaust system on it and stuff, but the actual interior itself is more refined from this generation as to my car, which it should be. It's slightly newer, but you do feel quite a big jump when you go from one car to the other, which is exactly what I've done today. You'll see the overlay shots of this car, and you'll see my Series 1 in the back. I had to bring it along for this shoot because it's just right, isn't it, getting those two cars together? It just makes it, doesn't it? Now, we will of course take a quick look around this Series 2 RS Turbo. So many cool little features that I want to point out, like bonnet vents, just cool from the era, something that the Series 1 didn't come with. Headlight protectors, an OEM plus option to put on these. Rare these days, they're like 300 quid for some headlight protectors. Madness. Spotlights on this generation as well, which is so cool. Pinstriping round on the front bumper there with the black accents. Such a cool look though. I mean, they didn't hit the nail on the head on the Series 2 as well as the Series 1. Not as aggressive styling though, I will say, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, especially down to the arches. These, although they do have an arch, the Series 1 is a lot larger, but so cool with the kit going down. It flows so nicely on the Series 2 body, coming around to the spoiler as well with these little holes in. It's cool looks, mate, like little bits and bobs like that, I say, from eras of Escorts. It's just nice to point out. This one of course has, as I've already said, a little exhaust system, factory exhaust with a little chrome tip on it, black accent coming around there on the turbo rear bumper. Just looks the part, doesn't it? Paint is fantastic as well. Again, relatively Survivor paint's had a few paint bits here and there. They all have though. Coming onto the inside though, which I feel is the best part about this car, is absolutely mint in here. The Recaro seats with the just the coolest pattern in the centre, Recaro badging, and really comfortable as well. Bolster wear is pretty minimal on this one. This one has a 4-spoke steering wheel as well. The owner was saying he wasn't too sure about the whole 4-spoke steering wheel when he bought it, but he's had this one redone. It looks absolutely fantastic. Something that I've already pointed out is this trip and range computer. A optional extra on the Series 2, but this one does have it. Again, cool feature from its era. It's also got, just down here, the Ford audio controls. Again, another option, I think, from this era. So really cool as well to see in this car. Absolutely mint in here, though. It's such a nice place to be. When you're driving along, it just takes you back to the 90s, early 2000s. Absolutely stunning interior. And a stunning car as well. Wheels are just in fantastic condition with those Cosworth brakes behind it. We get back on the road now, but yeah, what a thing to be out in, mate. And generationally, I feel like, yes, you know, people say, and even the owner was saying, like, yes, they're a little bit softer than the Series 1, but it's still, when you see an RS Turbo, the wing out the back sitting across that boot lid, the slightly bigger arches, the wheels, the front end with that front bumper with the pinstripe going round. This one, as we're on the front bumper, has headlight protectors as well, which again I always try and focus on as being one of like the coolest things that Ford have come out with, but now owners want them again and they're going for really strong money, these. So really cool OEM plus thing to have on one of these Escorts. It's just so nice to pick up the keys to something like this sometimes and just third gear. It just feels so good. Like, it's not dumping all over the place, it's not banging out the back. It doesn't need to though. As an OEM fresh RS Turbo, it really doesn't get better than a car like this. It is just how they come out the factory with, how they were just built. Yes, running a bit more power, running different suspension, better brakes, but that sounds like the perfect recipe then, doesn't it? Perfect recipe for the perfect OEM RS Turbo. And to be driving it around in 2023, I was talking to the owner and he drives it all the time. He said, you know what, yeah, through Christmas and stuff I still try and, you know, park it up due to, you know, bad weather, but 10, 11 months out of the year I am driving this thing round. And I love that, because I love driving my car, and that's what it's all about, is getting these classic cars out of the garage, driving around and enjoying them. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did like it, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of the Series 2 RS Turbo? I'm a huge fan, as I've already harped on about multiple times on the channel. It's just so nice to get a car like this on here. Honestly, like, I jump at the chance to just get a lovely version of a car on the channel, and this is up there. Thank you so much for watching guys. We'll see you on the next one.